I've had a lot of requests for Mrs. GTE's chicken pot pie recipe, and today is the day that we're gonna show it to you. I also wanna contrast that with my easy, don't have to do a lot of work or prep chicken pot pie recipe, and you can tell us which one you like better. So normally, if I was gonna do this as easy as possible, I would have just gone to the grocery store and gotten one of those rotisserie chickens. They're pretty inexpensive and dinner is already almost made when you bring it home. But Mrs. GTE likes to do things from scratch, and so I roasted one out on the pellet grill and saved all the drippings so that way she could amp up the flavor and the rest of the things that she's doing. For my version, crispy skin is a must. I remove the skin from the chicken and it's my secret ingredient. So give it a good chop and then set it aside for later. I rough chop the dark meat from the thighs and drums to get the best flavor.
And I prefer big chunks of chicken, and I save the bones to make a broth. Fresh buttermilk biscuits are another crucial part of my chicken pot pie. I make mine by hand with lots of butter, but you can use your favorite recipe. I made these early and put them in the fridge until I was ready to use them.
Mrs. GTE uses a wide variety of root vegetables in her pot pie. We've got potatoes, carrots, and a turnip. Each one is seasoned with garlic salt and Cajun seasoning before being roasted to deepen the flavor. To roast, toss them generously in oil before seasoning them. Spread them out on a baking tray and bake at 425 degrees Fahrenheit for 20 or 30 minutes until golden brown. In less time than it took to chop the veggies, I'll have this prepped and ready to bake in my 8-inch cast iron pan. Add a cup of roasted chicken, followed by the secret ingredient, that's the chicken skin, to bring more flavor to our broth. Add about a half a pound of frozen veggies and enough cubed potatoes to fill the pan. If you want to cook it faster, microwave the veggies for a couple of minutes to thaw them before adding them. And I also added a handful of peas. Mix it until it's evenly distributed. I'm using 1.25 cups of high-quality broth and adding a tablespoon of flour with 1/2 teaspoon of pepper. Most broth come with enough salt, so skip that part. While I skimped on the ingredients, I refused to skimp on flavor. I added a couple of teaspoons of garlic powder and a good solid teaspoon of rosemary. After that, we need to mix it all together until all the lumps in the flour are gone. Pour the broth mixture over the pot pie, making sure everything gets wet and that the flour isn't sitting at the bottom of the measuring cup. Ready-made puff pastry is a quick fix for a pie-like crust. So trim the edges off for a perfect fit. Then cut a hole in the top to let the steam escape, and it's ready to go. Mrs. GTE was busy, so I made the broth for her recipe by boiling the chicken gizzards and bones for several hours. Then I strained it to get out any of the solids. Now these roasted chicken bones and onions will give an amazing dark and rich flavor that can't be bought at the store. Then I skimmed off most of the fat so the chicken flavor shines through and not the grease. While Mrs. GTE was busy roasting, I worked on painting the deck because sometimes you just have to get things done and can't make everything from scratch. But being busy doesn't mean that we can't eat good food. The pellet grill was set for 375 degrees Fahrenheit and makes for an easy bake on my pot pie. It'll take about 40 minutes.
I sautéed diced onion in butter before adding flour, fresh parsley, and garlic, then added a quart of broth. Toss in 2 cups of chicken. Add in the roasted turnip, then the potatoes and carrots. Mix it together and bring it to a simmer so the biscuits aren't doughy on the bottom. Take a piece of your biscuit dough and flatten it until it's about a 1/2 inch thick and put it on top. Add a few more until the entire top is covered. Bake at 425 degrees Fahrenheit for 25 to 30 minutes until the biscuits are nicely browned. Let it cool for a few minutes before serving.
I think mine came out pretty good too. The broth is boiling and the puff pastry has puffed and started turning brown and looks amazing. So who do you think did it better, Ryan or Mrs. GTE? Put it down in the comments below. So really, the one that I made was pretty good. I love the rosemary in there. It had an awesome flavor to it. And for how much time I put into it, it was just fine. If I could do one thing different, I would have put biscuits on top because puff pastry isn't my favorite, and the biscuits really make that dish. So if I had an extra 15 minutes, that was one change that I'd make. So I really wanted to do a taste test live on camera, but my neighbor's dog was going nuts, and that didn't work out very well. So who do you think did it better, Ryan? So who do you think did it better, Ryan or Mrs. GT? So when it comes to Mrs. GTE's chicken pot pie, the results, there was really no comparison. Hers was just so much better. You had the depth of flavor from the long cooking broth, from roasting the vegetables, from the different variety of vegetables that were in there, as well as the butter in the biscuits just knocked it out of the park. So if you have some extra time, that's my recommendation. If you don't, go ahead and go with the easier one and just throw some biscuits on top and you'll be good to go. So I hope you enjoyed it, and if there are more videos you'd like to see, put that down in the comments below as well and we'll see what we can come up with.